We are the neighbors. We are the world. We have a better world when we know our neighbors. When I wake up and go step on my porch and I look to my right and I look to my left, I think, I know my neighbors. Not only do I know my neighbors, but I know my neighbors. So, they can do a lot of things, right? So when we know our neighbors, we know what they do for their vocation. We know what some of their habits are. We know what makes them, right? Our neighbors are the reason why we wake up and go to work so that we can enjoy our neighborhoods. Do you know your neighbors? Knowing your neighbors is how we build a better world. Being an amazing neighbor is how we build communities. And serving our neighbors is how we amplify our service to the world. We're the window to our neighborhood anywhere we go in the world. So when we meet someone, they look at us and they can only imagine what type of neighborhood we come from. They can only imagine what type of neighbors we have. They can only imagine who we are when we're at home, because we all know that when we take our masks off after we leave our house, we are not ourselves. Neighborhood Night Out, 2011, I met a neighbor. That neighbor had a child in her belly who hadn't even breathed her first breath on her own. I had twin little girls, Laurel and Gabrielle, who would grow up and, in my mind, have access to so many different experiences through the people that we lived around, right? This was a neighborhood where, when I look to my right, there's a rocket scientist, Ron. But when look to my left, there's John, who might make you feel like you're in space, while Ron is actually putting things in space, right? So contrast that and think about what happens when we actually do know our neighbors. My neighbor and I, we walked together for years. We endured struggles. We talked about hardships. We even broke bread, albeit simply peanut butter and jelly sandwiches from time to time, maybe a tomato sandwich. We would enjoy breaking bread together because we knew that where we were is not where we needed to be. See, in my mind, my children would grow up in a neighborhood where they could learn math and have tutors and people who were in space or had access to things so far beyond this world, right? I envisioned a specific type of neighborhood. We all can envision that, but it's what we work towards that matters, right? When we work towards being and building a better neighborhood, that means we either know our neighbors, we are our neighbors, or we serve our neighbors. Black, white, Filipino, mixed, it doesn't really matter. No matter who your neighbors are, you have a unique opportunity to engage and interact, to learn, and to teach, because not only are we students, not only are we builders, we are neighbors who have to consider those things well beyond our doorsteps. By that, I mean this. What happens when our neighbors have friends and guests over? Are we great stewards to our community? Are we ready to get their car towed because it's parked in your space? Or are we having conversations with our neighbors? And are we building friendships and alliances with the neighbors and their guests and the people that come visit them? Because beyond our own home, we are what the world thinks about. The world thinks about coming to America, or they may come to your suburban or inner city neighborhood. But what is their experience? How do we show up for the friends of our friends and the friends of our neighbors? Are we allies or are we foes? Do we help create and protect our friends in this environment? How do we serve our neighbors? We are in an election season, and it looks different. It was different this time last year because we didn't have to worry about putting on masks when we talk to our neighbors. They could look at our facial expressions and they could see, who are we? They can tell exactly who we are by our voice tone and our reflection and our expressions. But at some point in time, we look at all of the experiences that we've had that brought us to the neighborhoods where we reside, and we think, how do those people think about us? What do they think about me, my neighbors, how we interact, and are we together, right? I mentioned Ron, who stayed next door, who helped put things in space, and I mentioned John, who stayed next door and who kept people feeling like they were in space, but I didn't mention the officers. So when the officer comes and starts banging in doors, whose door is he gonna knock on? If he comes knocking on my door, does he know me? Does he know them, right? You never know, right? Are those neighbors the types of neighbors that will call the police on you? Are they the type of neighbors that will interact with you so that they know that it's not you, right? We have many different ways of living, many different styles. Everyone's different, but we have to come together and we have to be that example. When we are the good neighbors or the great neighbors, there are less questions to be asked about who we are and our character, what's happening in or around our homes. We don't have to worry about if our neighbor's not going to make it home that day because of a police interaction or an interaction with someone else who did not see their time and their worth as favorable, right? Meeting our neighbors and their friends in our environment provides us a unique opportunity to serve so far beyond ourselves that those neighbors and the friends of those neighbors, when they see us out in the world, they're like friends and family to us. When we make friends in our neighborhood, we bring focus to our ability to become world citizens. Thank you.